right, this is our tech panel. Before I kick the tech panel off, just want to make sure you should have received in your inbox the Explore survey. It is really, really important to us. We're a 2-year-old event. Last year we got tremendous feedback. We listened to all of it. That's why a lot of the changes were made. We need to hear your feedback for us to make our 3rd year even better. So please, please take that survey for us. And don't leave it till tomorrow. Just do it after if you can, we would really appreciate it. Okay, so first, this is our AI native or left behind. This is our last panel before we go into lawn games and afternoon tea. But this is the closed loop event intelligence stack. And I'll have each one of my panelists introduce themselves and tell what their business does. Jonathan?
Hey everybody, I'm John Kazarian. I'm the founder of Excel Events. We are an event management platform.
Hi, Michael Barnett, CEO and founder of Ingo. All of you have endless growth in the connections of your existing participants, your speakers, your sponsors, exhibitors, know everybody you want to acquire. You just need 10 times more referrals, and Ingo makes that happen.
Hi everyone, I'm Verena Popik. I'm the founder and CEO of Talkalytics, and Talkalytics is an emotional intelligence platform specialized on speech. So essentially we translate any spoken verbal feedback into sponsorship ROI reports and any blind spots and gaps that your audience may have not told you initially.
Terrific. Okay, now Jonathan Weiner was on stage earlier and kind of gave us a little bit of a, made us a little nervous on a couple of things, right? I was going to say. So,
Doomsday.
I know, right? What really, I'd actually really love your take on what he said, because it really does impact all of your businesses, right? You're all SaaS platforms or data analytics platforms.
I think we've spent the past 2 hours discussing it, and the conclusion is a lot of agreement.
I'm sorry, what was it?
A lot of agreement with Jonathan.
Oh, okay.
That's the reality, but the timeline's certainly uncertain, and I think the way that things go in the direction or where SaaS platforms are ultimately impacted is it's not going to happen right away. What's going to happen and what AI is enabling right now is that like 15% margin where the platforms aren't doing exactly what you need. That's what AI is allowing us to solve today, right? It's giving you that luxury to customize, to make it match exactly your business flows and give you those efficiencies. Something like 7% of corporate spend is on SaaS, right? That's not our opportunity, reducing that spend. Our opportunity is what we can do to grow revenue, and that's where we think AI is really going to be an accelerator. Don't take the risk by replacing the core platform.
I think for us, we're truly AI native. So what does that mean? That means that we are built from scratch on LLMs. So for us, it's not as, I would say, scary because we have been building with the wave. However, what I will want to say is that where the benefit of all these smaller companies or bigger companies like focusing on AI come out is really the niche on what they're doubling down on being good at, because there's a lot of like general LLMs, and we've talked about the Claude and the GPTs and everything, but at the end of the day, there is also, I will say, a lot of specialization that those LLMs are not trained for, so there's always room.
I think, Jonathan, I agree that we agreed. I think that, and there's this, anyone ever read Endurance about Shackleton and Antarctica? It's a great book. There's this moment, like they sail into Antarctica, they're getting crushed by ice, winter is coming, which means 180 days of dark, and they have to abandon the boat, they get off the boat. Shackleton takes the pocket watch the Queen gave him, like a nominal trinket, basically, in terms of weight, takes it out, throws it on the ice, and crushes it with his boot. And his point is, it's time to focus on survival. It's time to focus on, it's not business as usual. The world will be so different in 5 years than it is now, it'll be nearly incomprehensible. And I think that's the way, that's I think Jonathan's point. But I also think that what's missed in Jonathan's point is there will be more wealth created in the next 20 years than there were in the last 200. And so there's so much incredible opportunity out there. And so when I think about AI native, I'm like, oh, AI native. I think the question is, are you focused with as much determination as Shackleton was focused on reinventing your business, on seizing that opportunity? There's the chance to drive 10 times as much value. We saw Phil, we saw Anthea, we saw Jessica talk about being the Apex media company, the Apex advisory company, be the Apex experience company. All of you have an opportunity to be that Apex company in a way you never have before. If you're thinking about cutting cost, there's probably 2 events to think about. Think about event A. they're a $5 million company, focus on cutting costs. Great, they get to $4 million in EBITDA. Event B, they focus on being the apex event, growing to 20 million, 50 million, $100 million. That's the real opportunity here. That's what we should all be thinking about much more rigorously than how to cut some cost.
Yeah, I mean, to expand on that, we had a customer who came to us. One of their largest sponsors wanted to do an activation in the app, something that was custom coded as a fintech platform. And because of the acceleration with AI as a development tool, we were able to actually customize this exhibitor experience, and they sold that to that sponsor for $350,000, something that they wouldn't have been able to do in-house, we wouldn't have been able to do without the AI assistant. So really focusing on it from a revenue perspective is where the opportunity is.
So, you know, and it is interesting because Marina is AI native. Both your platforms are 10-year-old tech, 5-year-old tech. I mean, you tell me.
Yeah, I mean, we've both been around for about 10 years, but what does AI native mean, right?
Well, let's talk about that. Let's really, because I think people bandy around this term, and we should define it.
So there's an AI native software product, and then there can be AI native companies. So AI native company would be your business flows are really based on AI. Like before any hire is made, you're asking, can this process be automated? An AI native platform is moving away from a traditional data model where code is processing the data, everything is discrete, right? At the end of the day, like your product could not exist without AI as a core piece, as an LLM as a core piece of it. In the case of Michael and I, that's not the case.
But I would say that in the next year, our platform will be in a position where we will 10x the amount of value we're creating for our customers because of AI. And I think that I think all of you should be looking at SaaS providers and going, are you, with all of the knowledge, all the insight, and all of the value you're capturing from seeing across different companies, different platforms, different industries, are you bringing that into the platform? Yeah. Are you putting agents and bots and AI on top of? And I think AI, it's almost a bad word, because what you really want to know is what's between me and being that apex event. Like you don't, like the AI, does it matter? No, what you need is the solution to the problem that's keeping you from being the apex event. And the question is, are platforms and providers doing that for you?
Yeah, I would like to add to that as well is there's an overload of what we talked about with the AI agents and AI this and this whole like you have to be AI native or you have to, you know, like maximize your efficiencies and processes. I think defining in this like sea and ocean of AI here and AI there is what is your actual like value that you're offering, and optimizing the AI around that value will give you the maximum output, in my opinion.
Yeah, whereas before you might have needed Phil Thomas, I wonder if he's still here, or Jonathan Weiner. You might have needed a whole team of people to take over Amsterdam, book up a street, find all the bars, coordinate all these amazing experiences. I was just at South by Southwest. It's an extraordinary experience where it's not a trade show, it's a town show. It's the whole city. It becomes South by Southwest. And once upon a time, you would have needed a whole fleet of people to make that happen. Now you can have a few AI agents calling every bar, booking it all up, creating amazing activations, and selling it off through OneMind or something.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Verena, you are the new kid on the block. Well, first of all, just to give a little more intel about what you do, because we used Verena's technology, Talkalytics, over here in the sponsor room, and I was very fascinated by what it actually does. So I'll give you a little time to tell.
Yeah, thank you. A little background on that. So I originally come from the video world, and I was very early in TikTok, Musical.ly back in China, and I have just seen the rise of social listening data being used to make multi-million-dollar decisions. And that had really upset me because we all know that feedback is sort of very incentivized for clicks and performances and getting likes. So I was like, where do we even get the truth? Where's truthful data? Where does truth live? And what medium do we use to express ourselves truthfully? Where are we the most honest? And so I went down this rabbit hole to kind of like figure out, is it video? Is it in person? Is it text? Is it voice? Well, it turns out if you strip away the video and you just have the voice, people tend to be around 70% more honest, vulnerable, and overshare. So there's lots of information coming out there. Now, why people are more honest, There's a lot of different factors to it, and then also how do we define honesty or measure honesty, right? But you're not getting distracted by on a Zoom call looking at yourself, or when you're in person, change the narrative based on the opponent's facial impressions. Anyways, long story short, we wanted to connect the voice to the brand, and surveys are, Heather just said it as we kicked it off here. Please, guys, do the surveys. It's very important for us. It is, in fact, very important. But surveys have been this stepchild, I feel And so putting my TikTok hat on, just trying to figure out how can we bring the surveys or revamp the touch point of the participant talking to, for example, the event organizer or the brand. So we process the voice. So if you have not done that survey, please do it, experience it, open and share your emotions and your feedback. We process the emotions. We're truly voice first. We analyze tone, pitch, frequency, and match it to the context of what is being said. Because it's great or it's great are two different things. Especially if you're married, you know that. So it's we really specialize on that, and what we turn out of this is your emotional engagement. So we also understand the intensity of, for example, how excited you are about being here and whatnot. So talked a lot earlier about rational AI. I would say we're the emotional AI.
Perfect. All right, so we have a couple more minutes here, and I want to throw one question out, because why I liked this panel composition is because Jonathan's platform is what I'd say the touch point, the first touch point, right? It's the website, they're getting information about your event, they're looking at the agenda, and they're registering. That's the commercial boom. Then you've got Ingo, right? Once you register, it's then how do we get the attendee to then refer and share? And I love referral marketing, and Michael knows this. I think it's the best, fastest, most efficient way to get the most qualified, engaged attendees in the room. And your customer cost is much lower. But then we get the attendees in the room through both Excel events and Ingo, and then we have the Talkalytics, how do you like the event? And then with all of that, let's get them back, right? So that's the flywheel. So the question is, if you look at the event life cycle, where do teams lose the most usable signal? Registration, engagement, on-site behavior, or post-event feedback?
We're all biased.
Right. Try not to be too biased.
Should we just fight it out?
This is the thing I like about vendors. You guys talk to so many clients, so you're getting all of this. I call it the quilt of knowledge.
Yeah, I think where they lose the most and where they have the most opportunity are two different things. I think where they lose the most is on the registration side. I mean, too many people visit websites and don't convert, and there's so much more that we can do to drive conversion there. But I turn it to you in terms of where there's probably more opportunity. I mean, again, if we're talking about cost versus revenue.
I mean, the most incredible thing to me when we look at the underlying data is conversion rate, click rate, and conversion rate. So a referral for a boring event, and no one here's event is boring, but there are some, believe it or not, out there. The amount of clicks that a referral will get on LinkedIn on a boring event is 4 or 5. A really exciting event, a Money 2020, a Cannes Lion, will get 20 to 30. So and that means that their cost per click is far lower. Their cost per acquisition is far lower. And so when you start to compound that over time, and their retention rate's far higher, the average event generates $600 per attendee, just in terms of straight line revenue if you look at publicly traded companies. They then churn 70% of that. That means that they only retain $180 year over year of revenue, and that's all revenue, right? Sponsor, exhibitor, attendee revenue, because we assume that your sponsor and exhibitor pay you because of your attendees. So clearly there's something on what prevents churn, listening to them, seeing what gets them to convert. All of this is critical.
Yeah, I agree. And thinking about, it's very hard to get customers in the first place or participants in the first place, but then you've done all the hard work, but then 70% churn? That's a lot of money you're leaving on the table for renewals, and that's where I guess we come in. And
it compounds.
Yes, it compounds. And there is a lot of tools out there to understand what happened, why, and all of that. But we have seen the most effective implementation is on site to really understand what are people. You have them on the ground. Grab them. What is your experience? What is it like? What were you hoping? Did you really get out of your? Did we meet your expectations? Why or why not on the ground? Because when people come home, it's the same when you guys get off a plane and they send you the survey. You're like, how was your experience? You don't care. It's like,
But even when we have that
All right,
information,
Verena, we're going to have to chill on this. I'm just kidding. We have a great
Sorry.
survey platform, and I'm just
Yeah.
kidding with you. But we do want everyone to fill the survey out.
Yeah.
But the point is, yes, you have another way to augment and enhance.
yeah.
Right. I mean, if
And
you're one of these
improve.
companies with 30% retention, you gotta convert them better. You gotta get them to invite their
Yeah.
network, and you gotta listen to them
Yeah.
so that you can start
Have them come
keeping
back.
them, because that's where long-term value comes from.
the simplest thing you could do is just have a different website for returning visitors versus net new. And nobody does it. I mean, we see thousands and thousands of event websites, and they're the same for both personas.
That's a really, really, really good tip.
It's a great insight.
I think I'm
Yeah.
going to do that.
There you go.
All right. Well, listen, thank you so much. Will you guys be around during lawn games?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you guys can ask a ton of questions during the lawn games. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.